Hello, and welcome to another Mod Central USA video. It's been, oh wow, probably about 8 years now since I've started this channel. And I want to thank you all for subscribing and picking up a lot of my do-it-yourself products for remapping your controller at home, do-it-yourself kits. We started this with the Xbox 360, probably about 2012 or so. And I've introduced to you guys all sorts of awesome remapping solutions, whether it be just pointing out the soldering points on the boards of the controller so that you can remap your controllers and put remap buttons on the back of your controllers or on the grips and such. Or if it was a more difficult controller where it needed a remap board or something that allowed you to break out the soldering points so that it was easier to solder to, that I've come up with some really affordable solutions for you guys to use. They've been on both eBay and Amazon now for, like I said, probably 7-8 years now. And you guys have made my product the #1 do-it-yourself solution on both of those sites. So I thank you for that. And with that, we are now into the next generation of consoles. PlayStation 5 and Xbox One Series X and S. This is going to be a video that will be coming in the next couple of days, the Xbox. This controller actually has solder points that are pretty much in line with the Xbox Controller S on the Xbox One, Xbox One S, and Xbox One X system. Those S controllers and original controllers had easy to solder to points for simple remapping. And of course, I had programmable remap solutions for you guys as well as rapid fire solutions. We'll get to all three of those for this very soon. A remap programmable board and a rapid fire board for this is in production, should be done in a couple of weeks. So hopefully before December, if not early December. And hopefully it'll be shipping definitely before Christmas. And of course, if you want to install remaps on this and don't want to pick up an Elite controller, save yourself some money, I will point out the easy to use soldering points for this controller. If you have a controller S, the A, B, X, and Y are the exact TP numbers for the controller S. The D-pad's different. Finding the bumpers, really simple. Just look for the big fat soldering points on the tack switches. Really easy for those. The triggers are pretty much the same. You still need a resistor on the ground in order to pull low for remapping a trigger. But hey, you know, whatever. And I don't know if you guys want to remap any of these other buttons. I don't, you know, this new share button, the Windows button, the view button. I don't really see those as remappable. And of course, the R3 and L3 clicks are easily remappable. But again, this is going to be a video for another day. So let's get this out of the way. And let's focus exclusively on the the PlayStation Dualsense wireless controller for PlayStation 5. And again, 3 solutions: easy remap, programmable remap, which should be done very soon. The prototype is finished. It's in testing. It's pretty much going to be everything that it was on PlayStation 4, and it will be done any day now, and I will have another video for you right away. And then, of course, rapid fire for that controller as well will pretty much be the same thing as the programmable remap. The only difference is programmable remap will only be for button mapping. The rapid fire should have both. Should have optional programmable remapping, and it will have rapid fire for right trigger, left trigger, you know, jump shot, drop shot, all the stuff that you need for first-person shooters and stuff like that. So today I want to introduce to you the easy remap for the Dualsense controller. I'll give you guys a good look at it. It works just like the PlayStation 4 Easy Remap boards. It's really simple. There are actually a couple of ways that we can do remaps on the controller. So the first thing I want to do is I want to pop the controller open. I'm going to show you how to open it up. I'm going to show you how to install the remap board. I'm going to show you where the right places are for putting your remap buttons, or if you want to do, today we're going to do paddles. And of course, I've had these since my video came out 6 or 7 years ago now. These are the unbreakable aluminum paddles. These paddles have been around for a very, very, very long time. I've had them on my eBay store for over a half a decade now. You guys have bought well over a few thousand of these paddles, and I continue to laser cut these once every couple of months. I run off a huge batch of these. Excuse me. And these, of course, are the laser cut paddles, aluminum, and I skin them. These are skinned in white, and they will match up with the Dualsense controller really nice. So you could pick them up just bare silver, or you can pick them up skinned, and I have a whole bunch of different colors. So let's get into it. I've already done a couple of these. Obviously, I needed to get everything done first before I decided to do a video. So this is not an unboxing video by any means. Oh, and by the way, this is interesting. You can see I've actually opened this already. PlayStation 5 colored thumbsticks are not available, so I kind of did what I could to figure out if there are any thumbsticks that are out there for other controllers that would fit this Dualsense controller for PlayStation 5. And these right here are Xbox One thumbsticks. And they actually don't fit this controller by default, but here are the original PlayStation 5 thumbsticks. If you actually take the Xbox One thumbsticks, any of the OEM or even the originals, and you take the 440 drill bit and you put it in the hole and just drill out a little bit, okay? Just a little bit of material in the Xbox One stick, it actually fits on and works perfectly. Now, I don't know if you could see, but the height of these thumbsticks are pretty much the same, but we're gonna put these back in. I completely forgot that I did this, but this is the controller that we're gonna be using for the mod. So, the first thing you'll notice by looking at the Dualsense controller is, how the heck do I open this thing? So, I mean, it looks like there's a seam here and a seam here, but there's no screws anywhere. And here's the interesting thing about this controller. Sony was very, very coy about hiding the ability to open this thing. So, I don't know if any of you guys know what this is, but this is a pry tool. You guys can use this for laptops or iPads or cell phones or any kind of repair where you need to kind of like get in between the seams and click things up. You should probably use something like this, although you could use a exacto knife or whatever, but let me show you how easy this is. Just take this pry tool and put it right here at the end, okay? Why pry tool's not working? That's interesting. I thought that pry tool would work. All right, so here, just slip your exacto knife underneath, then use your pry tool. There you go. I was able to do it with the pry tool before, but okay, there we go. So, anyway, You don't have to use much force at all. I mean, they literally pop right out. They're just very plasticky, springy, okay? And then just kind of run your finger up until it pops off over here. And then it just kind of comes off, okay? That will reveal 2 screws, here and here. But that's not enough to get this open. The other 2 screws are hidden here and here. Well, how do you get that? Push trigger down, okay? Keep your finger over the R1 and L1 buttons, but use your little pry tool, just go underneath, and pop the button out. That simple, comes right out. Okay, keep your finger there so it doesn't go flying off into the distance, because that will happen. Boom. Now, again, don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to hold it up for the camera. There is 2 more screws. Those are the 4 screws you need to get your controller open. Okay. Next, take your little screwdriver, undo screw number 1, and let it fall on the floor. We'll go find that later. Screw number 2. Screw number 3. And screw number 4. Okay. I'm actually going to put these thumbsticks upside down, and I'm going to throw the screws in them. And these are the same size screws as what the PS4 DualShock 4 used. So, for that screw that fell on the floor, I'm going to go digging in my cup of screws. I know I've got one in here somewhere. There we go. There's an extra one. Okay. So, now we've got the 4 screws out. Now what? Now, basically, just grab your controller and just pull here. Now there's 2 clips here and here. Just pop the clip. Okay. And that should be enough. Perfect. Okay. And just like the old DualShocks, it actually has the lip. I'm sure they'll revise these later on down the line where these aren't there, but at least there's no stuff up in here anymore, which is absolutely fantastic. And this is what we're going to basically be putting the paddles and buttons in. So, but first I want to point out a couple of things. Okay. So here's the battery. The battery disconnects, easy enough. Then you have this battery cover holder, okay? But it's held in place by this screw, so you're going to need to take the screw out in order to get it out. That screw is actually the same size as all the other screws, but just for the sake of being consistent, we're going to keep that to the side. Okay? Now, notice how I flipped it forward, okay? I did that for a reason, because there's actually a microphone here. You can actually leave this plugged in, okay? But there's a second microphone over here that you're going to need to unplug. I like to use a pair of needle nose pliers and just pull it out softly. And the touchpad, again, just like the DualShock 4, you can pull that out as well, okay? Easy enough, okay? But The triggers, okay? If you want to just put in your remap board, okay, you can leave the triggers plugged in, but I advise against it because you don't want to rip. So, I don't know if you can see them. There's actually a tab here, okay? See this tab? As opposed to the ribbon itself. Just use that, pull up, be very careful. Okay, boom, boom. Now, interesting thing here. On the remap board itself, okay, we have A, B, excuse me, it's the PlayStation controller. We have X, cross, circle, square, triangle. We also have the D-pad up, down, left, and right. And we have the PS button for remapping on this easy remap board. Now, what if you want to remap the clicks from the thumbsticks or anything else? Well, just like the other controllers, okay, there's the four solder points here for the thumbstick clicks, okay? And 2 of them can be soldered to, and 2 of them are grounds, okay? You can actually follow and see which 2 align up. So these 2 and these 2, and then these 2 and these 2, okay? Now, gotta look at it a second. Okay. It's been a while. Hold on. Okay. So these 2 down here are the grounds. Okay. And these 2 are the points that you could solder to remap R3 and L3, okay? The other thing is, on the motherboard itself, R1 and L1, as well as R2 and L2, are no longer on here. They're on these ribbons. So how do you remap these? Well, it's pretty simple. I'm going to try to show you the proper way. All right. So here, let me get up on the camera and I'll show you. On the left side, okay, on the left side, there's this soldering point, the top one, which is the trigger, okay? And then there's the one right below it. That one is the bumper, okay? So that would be L2 up here. My focus is like out of focus. Okay, let's see if I can get it focused correctly. There we go. L2, L1. And then on this side, it's kind of hard to see, R1, and then this one that's kind of below the screw tab there is R1. And that's going to be the hardest one to get to. But you could actually solder a wire to those and then to the grounds, and you can remap R1, L1, R2, and L2 if you wanted to. Wouldn't advise it for the moment. Not for an easy remap anyway. Once the programmable remap comes out and the rapid fire, you're actually going to have to solder wires from those points to the rapid fire chip, and then all your remapping will be automatic. And for the for the programmable remap, they'll be optional. Obviously, if you don't solder them, they won't be options for the programmable remap. But if you do, they will be options. And with the rapid fire, they're 100% going to need to be soldered. So you're going to have to do 1, 2, 3, 4 wires to the flex board that's going to go in here. Okay, so now let's pop this out. Just like the old controller. You can actually put this back in there, and when you put it back in, it'll be fine. It's just the two clips here will actually touch that, and that's for your microphone and speaker that's built into the controller. So anyway, I'm going to put the original black thumbsticks back on for the moment. Okay. Now, there are 4 buttons. The PS button is already on the remap, but the share and options buttons, okay, they are not on. Whoopsie. Make sure you put this in right or it won't close. There we go. These 2 buttons here are not on the remap. You can solder to the tiny little pads here, but nobody ever remaps these buttons, and I've never been asked in 7 years with options and share on the DualShock 4s, so I didn't put them on this one either. So no big deal. So we're gonna now pop in the flex board, okay? It just lays in just like it would on the other controller, or any other controller, DualShock 4, whatever, DualShock 3, okay? There we go. It's on. There you go. Now, first thing I recommend doing is once it's in, put your screw in to hold it in. Okay. Next is this microphone that needs to go back in, okay? Feed it up. There's a hole right here, okay? No, I'm sorry, the hole is by the clip here. Perfect. Slide it in. Get it on the clip. Perfect, okay. And then grab it with your pair of tweezers and put it back in, boom. Okay, next, put in your touchpad. Next, put in your trigger flexes. Okay, so there's trigger flex, there's trigger flex. We have the front mic back in and plugged in. We have this plugged in. Okay, and we have our remap board. Now you could do it one of two ways, okay? You can run your wires underneath the battery plate, or you could put it on top of the battery. If you're gonna put it on top of the battery, I recommend you solder your wires first. So you really don't want to be soldering onto the battery. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the screw. Okay. I'm going to put the battery holder back in. And I'm going to put the battery back in, the battery screw back in, battery holder screw. That also holds the motherboard in place. Okay, perfect. Okay. Next, you can either put your battery in and have it sit on here like that, or like I said, you could have it sit underneath your battery, or you can have it sit completely underneath the battery holder. That's all up to you, okay? Now, when you put your battery holder back in, sorry, I forgot to point this out. This is all still very new. Make sure that this microphone is pushed to the side like that. There we go. And then make sure that you put this back in there like that. Okay. So, got that all done. Okay. So for this controller, we're going to do two paddles. We're going to do X and we're going to do O. I'm just going to tin them up. And don't forget the grounds. You can use any ground you want. Okay. Put your battery back in. Make sure that the wires are underneath the clip here. And boom, right back on. And then you can put this on here like that, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna get a piece of double-sided tape and I'm gonna stick that there. So let me show you that. Okay, so here's the double-sided tape, okay? I bought these online, just some 3M double-sided sticky squares. They're like 3 by 3 centimeter or 5 by 5 centimeter. Okay. Okay. Done. Okay. Now we get to the fun part. You need to pop this back on, okay? So you need to have enough wire, okay? So Okay. Okay. And now we will cut the wire, and we will cut the wire at this end. Okay. Sorry about me stripping off camera. My wire, that is. Okay. Now, we're going to solder these wires on. Be careful if you're actually soldering on top of the battery, too much heat, and your battery could catch fire. So if you don't want to be doing this with the battery, then don't solder your wires before you even put your battery back in. Okay, got my wires on. So that's my O and my ground for my O. And this is my X, which we're going to do X and O for there. Now, I'm going to use just a little bit of hot glue. Keep my wires in place over here. And these two over here. So these, whoa, not what I wanted. Sorry, guys. Okay, so on this side we have our O, and this side we have our X. Okay. Okay. Now, if you actually want to test this before you even put it back together, you can actually plug it into a Windows computer or whatever. You can actually turn this on. Okay. There you go. You can see I have it on, which is really awesome with this controller because it's all one piece. You don't have to put the back piece on, which is great. And you can actually just touch these wires together like this to see if the button remaps work. Okay? Now, here's the fun part. Drilling your back shell to put your paddles or buttons in. Now, you can put 2 buttons in your grips here if you want, and 2 paddles for a total of 4 if you wanted to do that. You could also do 4 paddles, but it's very tight and I haven't worked out all the exact places for it yet. And I really wanted to get this video out, so I'm still experimenting with a different controller. But for now, we're gonna do 2 paddles here, and I'm gonna show you where the buttons go on the grips, okay? If you give me a second, I'll actually bring it up for you. I actually have pictures of it. So in the shell, I don't know if you can see, there's these little indentations here, and on this side over here. Just above those, you can actually drill a hole and put buttons in. And I'll give you a peek. There you go. And you can see the button in the shell, and it does fit. Even when you go to put your controller completely back together, it does line up. You can see the button here, the inner part that's been glued in, and this whole back piece will actually sit on that button really tight, and it will work. But that'll be for a different video. When I actually do the programmable remap with 4, I'll show you how to do that. But for today, we're going to do just the paddles, and it's really easy to do, okay? So take your 440 drill bit, okay? And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put it right here. And right here. Okay. And you can see I've got the holes. Now, take your 440 drill bit off and use your regular button drill bit, and perfect. Okay, now that you've got your holes in there, okay, clean them up a little bit. Okay. Now you got to get rid of all this plastic that's around your hole so that you can actually put your button in there, okay? Just use a pair of pliers to pull these out. Like that. Okay, like that, and then bottoms. Okay, now take your blade, get in there and just clean this up a little bit. I'll show you, give me a second. Okay, and then on this side. Okay, and then this is the part that's difficult to do on camera. Kind of need to come through the trigger holes to get your exacto knife in there. Okay. Okay. And then on this side, same thing. Okay. And then we're gonna kind of just pull these out. Okay. There you go. Now, you got your 2 holes. Now your button has 4 legs. I recommend cutting 2 of them off. There's one. Okay, so now you should have 2 buttons with your 2 legs to solder to for your tack switches. Okay, you're going to want the buttons to face outwards, okay, on each side like that. Okay, now once you've gotten your plastic out, cleaned it all up, just take your exacto knife and clean up the hole a little bit. Okay. I just like to get in there and just kind of scrape around. Okay, perfect. Now, button here and button here. Perfect. They sit nice and flush. Now the next thing you should do before you actually glue your buttons in is your paddles. Now I showed you guys the paddles we were going to use. Okay. This is my paddle that I use to here we go. This is my pilot paddle. Okay, a little bit of an angle. Okay, like up here, just enough to cover your hole. Okay. There you go. And because the aluminum paddles are flexible, you can actually bend them if you need to, which works great. Okay. So I'm going to pilot drill these 2 holes. Watch your finger underneath. Perfect. Now on the other side, same thing. You kind of got to do this by eye. Okay, my pilot paddle is done. If you have a tapper, I advise tapping your holes for your screws for the paddles. And there you go. Perfect. As you can see, I eyeballed it pretty well. Everything should be lined up and good to go on the inside. Make sure you just clean any debris out of the inside of the shell. There you go. Perfect. Now we can glue the buttons in. So, first off, let's get our first button in there. Okay. And the first button is in. Okay. We're going to let that dry for a second. Now, if you'll notice, here is a microphone hole, okay? Notice that the button should be flush with the microphone hole for the most part. See, the top of the button should be flush with the microphone hole. Now, once this dries, we kind of want to just scrape a little bit of glue away because this is actually the battery area. But I'll show you that in a minute, okay? Let's let everything dry first. Okay, let's get this other button in. Okay. We're going to let this dry completely. And then we will solder them up and put everything back together. That's that. Easy enough right now. So as I said, as the glue starts to dry, you kind of just want to cut the glue with an exacto knife right about here. Just pull it away. There you go. Now, having glue on top of the button as well as around it, with how tight things are in this area in here, everything should hold pretty well. So you're not going to have to worry about the button getting pushed too hard in and stuff like that. Also, if you're the kind of person that uses Goldwing tacks like I do, you could actually use a little bit of crazy glue around the hole. But crazy glue with tack buttons is a little hard because sometimes the crazy glue seeps into the tack button and you actually have to pull everything apart and put a new tack button in. But with Goldwing tacks, they have some metal around them. And if you do just enough, you can actually get it in and use some crazy glue to hold it in there. Right now, it looks like this side's drying. And I'm gonna kind of, nope, not dry enough. If it pulls like that, it's not dry enough. We're gonna let that dry a little bit more. There we go. Getting some of that out of there. There we go. Okay. Make sure that's in there. Yeah, that's good. How's this one? This one's still drying a little bit. I'm gonna cut away this little bit of glue down into here. There isn't a ton of wiggle room with this controller. You want everything to go back nice and tight, so. Okay. Now, let's tin up the legs on the right side. Okay, good on that. Tin up the ones on the right side. Okay, we're good. Give you guys a view of that, all tinned up. Okay. Now, of course, after you tin your points, your hot glue might melt a little bit. So make sure that you don't push on it. Okay, perfect. We're going to let that dry for a minute or two. Okay. Now, when you put this back together, okay, you're going to want to kind of do it like this. You know, you're going to want to pop it over and run your wires. So I recommend either putting your controller like this or inside like that. I'm actually going to do it this way, okay? And as you can see, I have more than enough wire. I actually don't need that much. So I'm actually gonna cut some of the wire off. And then on this side, I'll do the same thing. Okay. Okay. So I've got the wire re-stripped like that. Okay. I like using tweezers. Makes things easy for installing. I'm gonna kind of do it like this. Okay, once you're installed, you can tug on your wires a little bit using your tweezers to make sure that they're secure to the solder points, and they are. Okay. Give it a second to sit and dry. Now, putting it back together. So what I would recommend is just tucking your wires into the center like this. Okay? See how I just tucked them into the center like that? Okay? I've got them over the top. Okay? And I'm just gonna use those two little center clips. See? Boom. We're good to go. Now at this point again, you want to test whether you got a PlayStation 5 or you're going to connect to your PC, turn on your controller and test it up. But at this point, we're good to go on the close. The last thing we're going to do is put the paddles on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screw and put it in the bottom here. Done. And now I'm going to do it again on this side. Okay. Now you got the two that go in the top. Again, I'm going to just take a pair of tweezers to hold the screw. They kind of go in on an angle. Like that. Use this screwdriver, I like it a little bit better. Okay, and then last but not least, this screw on this side. Okay. At this point, all you need to do is put your triggers back in. So this is L1. So you go to the L2 side and just push down the trigger and wind it up. Done. This side, hold down the R, wind it up. They kind of only fit in one way. Done. That's it. You can basically test if you wish. Putting this in is a little bit of a pain, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So these two little clip things, they kind of got to go like down like this, stabbing in, and then they just kind of clip in like that. Make sure that it goes over your microphone mute and your PS button properly. Okay, and then just move your fingers down and they clip right in. Done and over with. Now, we got button 1, button 2. Let's get our paddles. Now, just lining up the paddle here, you can see it's a little bit too high for the button itself. So, we're just gonna bend the top of the paddle a little bit. Perfect. And even if you bend it too much, don't worry about that because we can actually adjust these paddles because they are aluminum. They can be adjusted. We're just going to put one screw in for the moment. Okay. Perfect. Clicks. Feels good. Let's put the other screw in. Whoopsie. Make sure it goes in straight. Okay. Done. That's it. Now let's do the other one. Now again, like I said, a little too high. Just at the top, bend it a little bit. Perfect. That one's on perfect. Okay, good. There you go. You have two back paddles ready to go. Now, if you're not a back paddle person, if you don't play this kind of grip, okay, then you can do buttons on the grips, and I will go over those in another video very soon. But that is that. It is finished. You can see it clicks nice and well. The white kind of matches. This is more of a grayish controller. Give me one sec. These white controllers, or grayish white controllers, definitely pick up dirt pretty quickly, but a little bit of alcohol gets them off. There you go. All finished. So right now I'm going to tell you guys, you can pick these up on my Amazon store and you can pick them up on my eBay store. I will put links in the descriptions of where you can get the flexboard as well as the paddles, everything that you need. Basically, all you need is a T6 screwdriver. You need a drill bit that's just bigger than your tack, so I can't give you an exact size. Everything that I sell is a 4-40 drill bit and tap for the screws and the holes that I make for these paddles. They are slightly bigger than the M3, M4 screws that Scuf uses. But for the most part, these work on all 3 generations, PS3, PS4, PS5. I've used the same size for everything. Obviously, you need some screwdrivers, you need tweezers, you need a pry tool, or an exacto knife, which I ended up using both. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, see, I did it this time without the exacto knife. You just kind of like got to get your pry tool in between. There you go, and it comes right out. But hey, little clips right back in. So pry tool or an exacto knife. Obviously, you need some wire. You'll need tack buttons, whether you're doing grips or paddles. You'll need the screws and paddles. You'll need a soldering iron. You'll need a drill. And that should be it. Just like last generation, these will be $15 shipped. There's no tracking. So obviously, if you purchase one of these, they will come in a self-addressed stamped envelope. If you purchase from the eBay store or Amazon. If you need tracking, it's $3. I really don't want to charge $18 to people if, you know, they know that a self-addressed stamped envelope is going to show up, or an addressed envelope, I shouldn't say self, but anyway. If you want to buy them direct, my email is at the bottom of this in the description. You can email me. I will give you the fee off. I get charged $3 in fees from both eBay and Amazon. So they're $12 shipped if you buy them direct from me. And of course, there is a discount if you want a bunch of them. I just sold 100 of these to a controller company in the United Kingdom that's been building controllers for a number of years. Obviously, I'm not going to plug them because they don't want to be plugged at the moment. But they've been using my products for, God, since I started this channel. They actually found me because of this channel, and they've been using it for a while. They just purchased a ton from me. And if you purchase any more than 5 at a time, you will get a discount. I have up to 100 of these to ship at once. Right now, my initial stock is kind of depleted, so 1 per person. I have a second stock on its way. I will be able to fulfill orders of 50, 100, 200, 500 then. I should be getting another 1,000 very soon. So obviously, as this video ages, that's going to age as well. So this is November 21st, 2020. If you're watching this video, even a couple of weeks after its initial launch, I will have tons of stock. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments or email me, and I'll be glad to help you out. I offer any kind of assistance I can with do-it-yourself. If you're not into doing it yourself and you want somebody to do it for you and you don't want to deal with a major control company that charges a ton of money to get this done, drop me an email. I do requests for mailing controllers, as well as can buy you a controller, mod it, and send it to you as well. So if you want that done, let me know. I've been building custom controllers for people for 15 years now, well before I even started this channel. But ever since I started this channel, these controllers have been built, custom made for hundreds, if not maybe close to 1,000 customers. I honestly haven't kept track. Really, I am pushing do-it-yourself. So if you're a do-it-yourself person, this is definitely the way to go. And I will have more videos shortly. I'm not going to pause it here and show you it connected to a Windows PC. I know you got, or a PlayStation 5 for that matter. I'm sure you guys have seen all that before. You know how it works. But definitely, you know what? Let's just connect it anyway and see what happens. No, yeah, okay, let's connect it and see what happens. And I'll show you guys how to test it. So as you can see, we're at the computer. I have the controller plugged in, and you can see I push cross button to, so I'm going to kind of keep this off camera for a moment. You can see that all 4 buttons work. Cross, circle, square, triangle. The triggers and the bumpers, triggers, bumpers. There are your sticks. And now for your paddles. Oopsie. So there you go. Easiest way to test your controller is to plug it into a Windows PC and just go to USB controllers in your start menu and bring this test setting up, and it will let you check your controller. And as you can see, everything installed perfectly on the first try. So if you have any questions, hit me up. And thanks for 8 years of really awesome videos. And thanks for 8 years of patronage from you guys. Thank you very much.